Hello, I'm Dr. Emma Harris and I'm the Ethics Compliance Manager for the Human Brain Project. This is a brief video about ethics compliance in the HBP and what you need to do to be in compliance with the ethics management process. So, firstly, let's cover what is ethics compliance. Compliance is the bridge between the top-down requirements of the European Commission regarding ethics in research and the actual research conducted in a big project such as the Human Brain Project. So compliance sits as part of the ethics management team, which is in SP12, and it manages the collection of information regarding the ethical issues raised by the Human Brain Project. So now I'm going to talk about how we get that information. So the first methods we use is a survey. And this is basically an interactive version of the Horizon 2020 self-assessment, which is a static PDF document. But we've turned this into an interactive survey, or questionnaire if you like. So this establishes if the research in your task raises any ethical issues. And it identifies what those issues are, and there are 9 categories, which I'll just talk about in a moment. So one thing to note is that in SGA1, there are 2 surveys. The second survey is only for research which raises ethical issues. So if your research doesn't raise any ethical issues, it's 1 survey. If it does, it's 2 surveys. However, in SGA2, there is 1 survey for everyone. So it's been a bit streamlined. So the 9 categories in the H2020 self-assessment and the survey I talked about are on the screen now. And they are, what you'd expect: research on humans, research on animals, research which might affect the environment, or which involves personal data. If your research falls into any of these categories, it raises ethical issues, and we will need to see the relevant approvals and documents. Speaking of which, if your research does raise these issues, we need an ethics approval from an ethics board. This can be an institutional ethics board, a regional ethics board, or even a national ethics board, depending on what is the norm in your particular EU country. Other documents such as licenses for animal research, informed consent forms, and biobank certificates may also be required. So for SGA1, the documents can be sent by email to hbp.compliance@dmu.ac.uk, and for SGA2, documents can be uploaded online once you've completed the survey, or they can be emailed directly if you prefer that. So how is this information used? We have what we call the registry, which is basically a database of all the responses to the surveys, so that ethics management can have an overview and report to the European Commission what the status of every task in the Human Brain Project is. Now, in terms of storage, the copies of the approval documents are stored securely, and only our internal reviewers, who are part of the ethics management team, and the European Commission reviewers have access. A word about partnering projects and co-design projects. In terms of compliance, they are treated exactly the same as Human Brain Project tasks, so they are asked to complete the same surveys and produce the same documents, and they are a record of this is kept in the same database. So, compliance in you. What do you need to do? Well, you need to fill in the surveys. We would like 100% response rate. We're nearly there. We have about 95% response rate for SGA1, and in SGA2 we're going to be doing the compliance process in the planning phase. So that's now basically. So fill in the surveys, or if your SP manager does these things, you need to contact them and tell them what you would like put in the survey. More broadly, try to think beyond just compliance and tick boxing, and think about the ethical issues your research raises more fully. How will it affect society, and is that effect benign? Also, speak to your ethics rapporteur. The ethics rapporteurs produce what's called a one-pager, in which we talk about the general issues that the task in your SP raises. And this feeds into an overall understanding of what the Human Brain Project is doing in terms of ethics and society. So please get involved in that. Very quickly, compliance and the PLA. So as you know, the PLA is now being used, the Project Lifecycle app is now being used extensively in the SGA2 planning phase. The compliance section of this is that when you, as you can see on the screen, when you create a task or add information to a task, there's now a section called Compliance Survey ID. And this is a number that you will receive upon completing the SGA2 compliance survey. It will be emailed to you automatically. You put the number in that box, and that then shows us that you've completed the compliance process. So it's very simple. You fill in the survey, you get the number goes in the PLA. Also, if your sub-project has an ethics task or component, so some of the sub-projects have a separate task dedicated to the ethics of that sub-project, please link it with the compliance task or the compliance forms components in the PLA so that we can show how we're interacting with the wider project. So if you'd like any more information on compliance, then please contact the email address I spoke about before, and we'll be happy to explain anything that's not clear and give you more information. Thank you very much for watching.